Imagine being stuck in a traffic jam. The driver next to you suddenly cuts in front of you, nearly causing an accident. Your heart races. Your hands tighten on the steering wheel, and a wave of anger begins to build. In this critical moment, you have two choices: react instinctively or respond consciously. The difference between these two choices can determine not only the course of your day, but potentially the course of your life. We live in an age where the demand for immediate responses seem endless. Constant notifications, tight deadlines, complex relationships, and social pressures push us further and further into automatic mode of existence. We react reflexively, guided by primal emotions and ingrained conditioning, often regretting our impulsive actions later. The ancient Stoics, more than 2,000 years ago, already understood this human dilemma deeply. They developed a practical philosophical system that teaches us how to create a vital space between stimulus and response, a precious moment of conscious choice that can completely transform our experience of life. On this journey we're about to begin, we'll explore 12 fundamental principles that can strengthen your mind and develop the ability to respond rather than react. From a basic understanding of the difference between reaction and response to deeply integrating the Stoic virtues into your daily life, each step has been carefully designed to build a solid foundation of mental and emotional balance. Prepare yourself for a gradual but profound transformation. By the end of this exploration, you will have practical tools and powerful insights to cultivate a more resilient, conscious mind that is capable of navigating the challenges of modern life with wisdom and serenity. Before we start, how about subscribing to our channel? That way, you won't miss any content. And to begin this journey of transformation, we must first clearly understand the fundamental difference between responding and reacting, a distinction that lies at the heart of all Stoic practice. When faced with a challenging situation, our brains instinctively trigger an ancient survival mechanism, the fight or flight response. This mechanism, while vital to our ancestors who face constant physical danger, often becomes a hindrance in modern life, where our threats are mostly psychological and social. The reaction is automatic, instantaneous, and often disproportionate. It's like an involuntary reflex that occurs before we can even fully process the situation. When we react, we are essentially allowing our autopilot to take over, based on deeply ingrained emotional and behavioral patterns, many of which were formed in times of stress or trauma. On the other hand, responding is an art that the Stoics mastered through constant practice. It is a conscious, deliberate act that is aligned with our deepest values. When we respond, we create a vital space between the stimulus and our action, a precious moment of clarity where we can assess the situation with discernment and choose our next step wisely. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. This distinction is crucial to understanding the difference between reaction and response. When we react, we are at the mercy of our automatic judgments. When we respond, we have the opportunity to examine those judgments and choose a more balanced perspective. Consider, for example, receiving criticism at work. The automatic reaction might be defensive. Immediately justify yourself fighting back or withdrawing emotionally. A conscious response, on the other hand, would involve first acknowledging your initial emotional reaction, creating a moment of pause, and then choosing an action that is constructive and aligned with your long-term goals. Perhaps seeking specific feedback to improve or viewing the criticism as an opportunity for growth. But how can we consistently create this vital space between stimulus and response? The answer lies in a fundamental practice of Stoicism, the conscious pause, or prohairesis. Prohairesis, or the Stoic pause, is more than just a moment of hesitation. It is a deliberate act of mental freedom. This concept, central to Stoic philosophy, represents our unique ability to choose how to interpret and respond to the situations that life presents us. Epictetus, the great Stoic teacher, considered prohairesis to be the most valuable faculty of a human being. It is through it that we exercise our true freedom, not the freedom to control external events, but the freedom to choose our response to them. This conscious pause acts as a bridge between our reactive nature and our capacity for reflexive response. In practice, implementing the Stoic pause involves developing a new mental habit. When faced with a stimulus that would normally provoke an automatic reaction, we practice inserting a moment of conscious suspension. During this pause, however brief, we can ask ourselves three fundamental questions. What's really going on here? Besides my first impressions, what is my usual automatic reaction? What would be the answer most aligned with my values? This process may seem time-consuming at first, but with constant practice, it becomes more and more natural and faster. It's like developing a mental muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger and more agile it becomes. For example, imagine receiving an angry message from a coworker. Instead of responding immediately out of emotion, the Stoic pause allows us to take a deep breath, observe our initial reaction without acting on it, and consider a more constructive response. This brief pause can be the difference between perpetuating a conflict and creating an opportunity for mutual understanding. But for the Stoic pause to be truly effective, we need to develop a deeper understanding of our first impressions, the fantasiae, that often trigger our automatic reactions. Fantasia, or first impressions, are like the first draft of our interpretation of reality. The Stoics understood that these initial impressions, although automatic and instantaneous, need not determine our actions. They taught us that between the impression and our response, there is a vital space of discernment. These first impressions are heavily influenced by our past experiences, limiting beliefs, and social conditioning. As a filter through which we view the world, they can distort our perception of reality. For example, a casual comment from a friend may be interpreted as a devastating criticism if we carry unresolved insecurities about the subject in question. To develop awareness of these initial impressions, the Stoics recommended the practice of continual self-examination. One particularly effective technique is to keep an impression diary in which we record the situation that triggered the impression, our automatic interpretation, the emotions and associated physical sensations, an objective analysis of the concrete facts. This exercise in self-observation allows us to identify recurring patterns in our automatic interpretations and begin to question their validity. Over time, we develop the ability to recognize our fantasiae as they arise, thus creating an opportunity to choose a more balanced and constructive interpretation. This awareness of first impressions naturally leads us to the next level of our practice, the development of a more constructive internal dialogue aligned with Stoic wisdom. Self-talk is a constant conversation we have with ourselves that profoundly shapes our experience of life. The Stoics recognize that the quality of this dialogue largely determines our ability to respond consciously to life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, in his private reflections, demonstrated a powerful method of Stoic self-talk. He constantly questioned his own perceptions, seeking a more objective and balanced perspective. Is what I am thinking true? Is it useful? Is it necessary? Were frequent questions in his process of self-inquiry. The Stoic reformulation of internal dialogue follows specific principles. 1. Focus on objective facts, separating them from emotional interpretations. 2. Recognition of what is and is not under our control. 3. Alignment with the fundamental Stoic virtues. 4. Search for alternative and more constructive perspectives. For example, when we face professional failure, our automatic self-talk might be, I'm a complete failure. I'll never succeed. The Stoic rephrasing might be, this particular attempt didn't produce the desired results. What can I learn from this experience? How can I adjust my approach the next time I try? This more conscious internal dialogue prepares us for one of the most powerful practices in Stoicism, negative visualization or premeditatio malorum. Premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization, is one of Stoicism's most distinctive and powerful practices. Unlike modern positive thinking, which often encourages us to ignore potential adversities, the Stoics believe that consciously contemplating potential challenges strengthens us to face them when, and if, they actually occur. This practice is not intended to generate anxiety or pessimism, but rather to develop deep mental resilience through conscious preparation. Like an athlete who trains in adverse conditions to be prepared for any situation during competition, the practitioner of Stoicism exercises his mind by visualizing and preparing for various challenging scenarios. Effective implementation of negative visualization follows a specific structure. First, we identify an important situation in our life. It could be a valuable relationship, a professional achievement, or a significant material possession. Then, we consciously contemplate the possibility of losing or not achieving this thing we value. The goal is not to dwell on the fear of loss, but rather develop a deeper appreciation of the present and a mental readiness for change. For example, an executive might visualize losing his or her current position. Instead of being paralyzed by fear of the possibility, he or she uses this contemplation to 1. Appreciate his or her current position more deeply. 2. Keep his or her knowledge and network up to date. And 3. Develop a realistic contingency plan. In this way, negative visualization becomes a tool of empowerment and preparation, not anxiety. Regular practice of premeditatio malorum helps us develop a more balanced perspective on our possessions, relationships, and achievements. Paradoxically, by contemplating the possibility of loss, we develop a deeper gratitude for what we have in the present and a greater ability to deal with change when it inevitably occurs. This mental preparation leads us naturally to the next essential tool in our Stoic arsenal, the discipline of assent, where we learn not to give automatic power to our impressions and judgments. The discipline of assent, considered by the Stoics to be one of the most fundamental practices for mental development, represents our ability to consciously choose which impressions and judgments we will accept as true. This essential practice functions as a sophisticated mental filter, allowing us to critically evaluate our impressions before granting them our full assent. Epictetus emphasized that true human power lies not in controlling external events, but in choosing how to interpret and respond to those events. Assent represents this crucial moment of choice, the moment when we decide whether to accept an impression as true and worthy of our emotional response or to examine it further. In daily practice, the discipline of assent manifests itself through a systematic process of questioning. When an impression arises, be it a thought, an emotion, or a judgment, we practice pausing and subjecting that impression to a series of critical questions. Does this impression correspond to objective reality? Is it completely within my control? What is the evidence that supports this judgment? Is there an alternative interpretation possible? For example, when a colleague doesn't respond immediately to an important message, our automatic impression might be, he's deliberately ignoring me. The discipline of nodding allows us to pause and ask, are there other possible explanations for the silence? What real evidence do I have for this interpretation? How can I test this assumption before reacting? Developing this discipline requires consistent practice and vigilant attention. We begin with simpler situations and gradually progress to more complex challenges. An effective practice exercise is to keep an assent journal where we record our initial impressions, the questioning process applied, and the most balanced conclusion reached after analysis. Mastery of this discipline does not mean becoming cold or calculating. On the contrary, it allows us to respond to situations with greater clarity, wisdom, and authenticity, free from the distortions of hasty judgments or unexamined emotions. As we develop the discipline of assent, we naturally begin to recognize more clearly what is and what is not within our control, a crucial insight that leads us to the next pillar of our Stoic practice, strengthening the circle of control. The dichotomy of control, a fundamental principle of Stoicism articulated by Epictetus, establishes a clear distinction between what is and is not under our control. This understanding is not just an abstract philosophical exercise, but a powerful practical tool for directing our mental and emotional energy more efficiently. The circle of control can be visualized as 3 concentric spheres. In the center, we find what is completely within our control: our judgments, opinions, intentions, efforts, and responses to situations. In the middle sphere, we have partial influence, our performance in different areas, some aspect of our relationships, and the development of our skills. In the outer sphere, we find the elements completely beyond our control: the weather, the actions of others, global events, and the past. This mental framework allows us to carry out a systematic analysis of any challenging situation. For example, in an important presentation, we can identify what is within our control, our preparation, our posture, our effort, what we have partial influence over, the clarity of communication, the engagement of the audience, and what is beyond our control, unexpected technical problems, the individual reactions of participants. Unexpected technical problems, the individual reactions of participants. Consistent practice of this discernment leads us to develop what the Stoics called inner peace. This is not a passive or resigned peace, but an active state of focus and efficiency, where our mental and emotional energy is directed precisely where it can have the greatest positive impact. To strengthen this discernment, We can use a Stoic decision matrix. In each challenging situation, we list all the elements involved and systematically categorize them into 3 spheres of control. This exercise, practiced regularly, develops a valuable mental reflex, the ability to quickly identify where our energy will be best invested. This refined insight into what is within our control prepares us to develop an even more subtle skill, the observer perspective, which allows us to see situations with greater clarity and objectivity. In the midst of a whirlwind of emotions, our natural tendency is to sink into our experiences as if they were our hostages. But there's a way out. Develop an observer's perspective. Imagine yourself looking down on your own life, like a bird flying over a city. This view from above allows us to see patterns, to understand that everything is temporary, and that each event is just a small point within a larger narrative. This gives us the power to respond better, without being consumed by the intensity of the moment. Creating this healthy emotional distance doesn't mean denying what we're feeling, but rather putting each emotion into perspective. This allows us to react with more clarity and less impulsivity. A powerful practice for this is Stoic contemplation, reflecting on impermanence, the cyclical nature of life, and how everything that happens can be seen as an opportunity to learn. When we understand that everything is temporary, we can better accept challenges and use them to strengthen our minds. The zooming out exercise is one of the most effective. Imagine that your life is being observed from afar, first as if you were in a tall building, then as if you were in space, seeing the Earth as a whole. What now seems like a big problem becomes just a minor event within a much larger context. This exercise can be complemented by the practice of journaling. Record what you're going through and then reread it in moments of calm to realize how many worries become irrelevant over time. This practice becomes essential in emotionally intense moments. When faced with crisis, ask yourself, if I were to look back on this situation a year from now, how would I see it? This simple shift in perspective can completely transform the way you react and feel when faced with adversity. Practicing this vision regularly can help us avoid making impulsive decisions based solely on the emotions of the moment. The concept of amor fati, or love of fate, is one of the jewels of Stoic philosophy. It invites us to not only accept but to embrace every event in life, good or bad, as part of our journey. This means developing a mindset of active acceptance, where each situation is seen as an opportunity for growth and learning. No event need be interpreted as an unbearable burden. Rather, it can be seen as a teacher who teaches us valuable lessons. Every obstacle can be transformed into an opportunity for growth. Instead of resisting what cannot be changed, we can choose to use it to our advantage. The Stoics saw every difficulty as a training ground for the mind and soul. Suffering, then, becomes not an enemy, but rather an ally that strengthens us and teaches us how to find solutions. But there is a crucial difference between active and passive acceptance. Passive acceptance is resignation. Active acceptance is looking at adversity and saying, this is for me, not against me. What can I learn from this? When we develop this mindset, we gain more control over our reactions and become more resilient. We can structure our response to hardship with a simple framework. 1. Identify the adversity. 2. Fully accept its reality. 3. Find purpose within it. 4. Act according to our values. This process allows us to transform pain into power and chaos into clarity. Small steps can help us practice this skill, such as reflecting daily on situations that challenged us and writing down what lessons we can learn from them. Stories of overcoming adversity demonstrate the effectiveness of this principle. Think of someone who lost everything and, instead of giving up, used the loss as a catalyst for an even more meaningful life. These examples show us that it is not the circumstances that define our journey, but how we choose to respond to them. Applying amor fati allows us to transform adversity into opportunities for evolution. Emotional resilience does not happen by chance. It is built daily through small practices that strengthen our minds. A Stoic resilience routine includes morning reflection exercises, nighttime reviews, and intentional challenges. This means cultivating the habit of reviewing our emotional reactions, recognizing destructive thought patterns, and reinforcing attitudes that promote mental stability. Progressive exercises, such as facing voluntary discomfort, waking up earlier, taking cold showers, practicing silence, build an emotional muscle that prepares us for unexpected challenges. The idea here is not just to endure discomfort, but to learn to thrive in it. When we get used to small daily challenges, big adversities become less intimidating. To measure this evolution, we can use progress tracking. Record your moments of resilience. When you chose not to react impulsively, when you overcame a challenge without giving in. Over time, you will notice patterns of growth and become more aware of your evolution. Of course, there will be setbacks, but each setback is an opportunity to reinforce our commitment. The secret is not to never fall, but to always get up. When we see our failures as part of the process, we can learn from them and become even stronger. The 4 cardinal virtues of Stoic philosophy, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, form a foundation of a life aligned with reason and virtue. Integrating them into daily life is not just a philosophical exercise, but constant practice of self-awareness and personal improvement. Each of these virtues has direct applications in our daily lives. Wisdom guides us to make rational and considered decisions, avoiding impulsive responses based on momentary emotions. Courage allows us to face challenges without giving in to fear, always seeking to act with rectitude. Justice reminds us of the importance of treating others with fairness and respect, regardless of the circumstances. And temperance teaches us the value of moderation, avoiding excesses and ensuring that our choices are balanced. To apply these virtues in a practical way, we can use a decision-making framework based on them. Before making any significant decision, ask yourself, am I being wise in doing this? Am I demonstrating courage in facing this challenge? Is this choice fair to myself and others? Am I maintaining a healthy balance? These questions help us keep our actions aligned with Stoic principles. Practical examples abound. In situations of conflict, we can turn to justice to find a balanced solution. In moments of doubt, wisdom guides us to the best choice. When faced with challenges, courage drives us forward. And when dealing with temptations, temperance reminds us of the importance of moderation. A helpful exercise to ensure that we are living in accordance with these virtues is nightly reflection. Take a few minutes at the end of the day to review your actions and ask yourself, was I wise today? Was I courageous in the face of difficulties? Was I fair to others? Did I practice temperance in my choices? This habit not only makes us more aware of our actions, but also helps us improve our behavior over time. Throughout this video, we explore the importance of shielding our minds to respond to situations rather than reacting impulsively. We saw how emotional and spiritual wars begin in the mind, and how crucial it is to protect this battlefield to ensure victory over the challenges we face. Emotional intelligence plays a key role in this process, allowing us to better understand our own emotions and those of others, as well as helping us to manage our reactions more consciously. Mindfulness has also been highlighted as a powerful tool for improving emotional regulation, allowing us to deal with stressors in a more adaptive way and increasing our capacity for emotional differentiation. In addition, Stoicism offers us strategies to strengthen the mind, eliminating negative thoughts, and increasing confidence to achieve our goals. Now that you understand the importance of shielding your mind, it's time to put these strategies into practice. Here are some steps you can take. Practice empathy. Try to understand how others feel and put yourself in their shoes. This will help improve your relationships and deal with conflicts more effectively. Develop mindfulness. Set aside a few minutes each day to meditate or practice mindfulness. This will help reduce stress and improve your ability to cope with negative emotions. Adopt Stoic practices. Learn to discern between what you can control and what you can't. This will help reduce stress and increase your resilience. Establish daily rituals. Create rituals that reinforce your identity and well-being, such as reciting positive affirmations or practicing hobbies you love. Now that you have the tools you need, it's time to take action. Shielding your mind isn't just a choice. It's a necessity to live a fuller, more balanced life. Imagine what your life would be like if you could deal with your daily challenges without letting yourself be overwhelmed by negative thoughts or impulsive reactions. Imagine the confidence you would gain knowing that you could face any obstacle with calm and wisdom. The first step is the hardest, but it's also the most important. Start applying these strategies to your life today. Take time to meditate. Practice empathy with those around you, and adopt a Stoic mindset to deal with challenges. As you begin to apply these practices to your life, it's important to remember that you are not alone. There are many people who are going through similar challenges and who can benefit from your experiences. Invite friends and family to join you on this journey. Share your success stories and challenges in the comments below. Not only will this help create a supportive community, but it will also inspire others to do the same. Also, if you have any questions or need additional guidance, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to help and support your journey. Shielding your mind is not just a choice, it is an act of self-love. It is recognizing that you are worth it and that your mind is your greatest treasure. By protecting your mind, you are not only improving your mental health, but you're also becoming a stronger, more resilient person and better able to face life's challenges with confidence and wisdom. Shielding your mind is a process that takes dedication and practice, but the results are infinitely valuable. By learning to respond rather than react, you not only improve your mental health, but you also become a more balanced and happy person. Remember that every small step you take today is a big step toward a more fulfilling and authentic life tomorrow. Together, we can create a world where people can live in peace and harmony with themselves and others. Life is a precious gift, and every moment we live is an opportunity to grow and learn. By shielding your mind, you are not only protecting your most valuable asset, but you are also paving the way for a life richer in experiences, deeper in meaning, and fuller in joy. So go ahead, start that journey today, and remember that you are not alone. There is an entire community here to support and inspire you every step of the way. So, let's join us on this journey. Let's create a community that supports and inspires each other to shield their minds and live more authentic and happy lives. Together, we can make a difference and create a world where people can live in peace and harmony with themselves and others. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give a like and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and practical content on mental health and well-being. See you in the next video.